Have you ever wondered how one act of kindness can completely change someone's life? This is the heartwarming story of a powerful CEO, a struggling single mother, and a love that blossomed when neither of them expected it. Let's begin. On the outskirts of a small town lived a woman named Sarah. Sarah was a single mother raising her 7-year-old daughter, Lily. Life had never been easy for them. After losing her husband in a tragic accident years earlier, Sarah found herself carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. Every day, she worked long hours cleaning offices and homes just to put food on the table. Their tiny house was old and falling apart. The roof leaked whenever it rained. The walls were cracked. The windows barely closed. But despite everything, Sarah always smiled for her daughter. Every night, before bed, Lily would ask the same question. "Mom, do you think we'll ever have a beautiful house?" Sarah would gently kiss her forehead and reply, "One day, sweetheart. One day." Though deep inside, Sarah wasn't sure that day would ever come. Meanwhile, in the city, a successful businessman named Daniel Carter was known as one of the youngest CEOs in the country. Daniel owned a large construction company worth millions. He lived in a luxurious penthouse and drove expensive cars. But despite all his success, he felt something was missing. Money had brought him comfort, but not happiness. Most people admired him for his achievements, yet very few truly knew him. He often felt lonely. One rainy afternoon, Daniel decided to personally visit a construction site in a nearby town. As he drove through the neighborhood, heavy rain poured from the sky. That's when he noticed something unusual. A woman was desperately trying to place buckets around her living room while water leaked through the ceiling. Standing beside her was a little girl holding an umbrella indoors. Daniel couldn't stop thinking about the image. Something about it touched his heart. The next day, Daniel returned. He parked his car and walked toward the small house. Sarah was surprised when a well-dressed stranger knocked on her door. "Hello," Daniel said politely. "My name is Daniel. I was passing through yesterday and noticed your roof leaking. I wanted to make sure you and your daughter are okay." Sarah was embarrassed. She wasn't used to accepting help. "We are fine," she replied softly. But Daniel could see the truth. The house was in terrible condition. Lily peeked from behind her mother. "Hi," Daniel smiled. The little girl smiled back. For the first time in months, Sarah felt someone genuinely cared. Over the following weeks, Daniel found excuses to visit. Sometimes he brought groceries. Sometimes he delivered toys for Lily. Other times he simply stopped by to chat. Slowly, a friendship began to grow. Sarah learned that Daniel wasn't arrogant like many wealthy people. He was humble, kind, and surprisingly down to earth. Daniel, on the other hand, admired Sarah's strength. Despite all her hardships, she never complained. She worked tirelessly and always put her daughter first. The more time they spent together, the more he respected her. One evening, Daniel asked Sarah a question. "If you could change one thing about your life, what would it be?" Sarah looked around her aging house. Then she smiled sadly. "I just want a safe home for Lily." Daniel nodded quietly. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Sarah's words. A safe home. For someone with his resources, it seemed like a simple dream to fulfill. But he didn't want Charity to embarrass her. He wanted to help in a way that respected her dignity. The next morning, Daniel gathered his top architects and engineers. He showed them photos of Sarah's house. "I want to build a beautiful home for a family who deserves it," he said. The team immediately began planning. For months, Daniel secretly worked on the project. He personally reviewed every detail. A cozy bedroom for Lily. A modern kitchen for Sarah. A small garden filled with flowers. Everything Sarah had ever dreamed of. Meanwhile, Sarah had no idea what was happening. She simply noticed Daniel becoming busier. Though she missed him, she understood. After all, he was a CEO running a huge company. One afternoon, Lily asked her mother, "Do you think Mr. Daniel likes us?" Sarah laughed. "Of course he does." "No," Lily said. "I mean really likes us." Sarah couldn't help but blush. Deep down, she had begun developing feelings for Daniel too. But she quickly pushed those thoughts away. Why would a wealthy CEO ever fall in love with someone like her? Months passed. Then one sunny Saturday morning, Daniel arrived with a smile. "I have a surprise," he said. Sarah looked confused. "What kind of surprise?" "Come with me." Curious, Sarah and Lily got into his car. After a short drive, they arrived at a beautiful neighborhood. Large trees lined the streets. Children played in nearby parks. Flowers bloomed everywhere. Daniel stopped in front of a stunning house. Sarah stared in disbelief. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Daniel handed her a small key. Sarah looked puzzled. "What is this?" Daniel smiled. "It's yours." For a moment, Sarah thought he was joking. Then reality slowly sank in. Tears filled her eyes. "You mean this house?" Daniel nodded. "I built it for you and Lily." Sarah began crying uncontrollably. She had spent years worrying about bills, repairs, and survival. Now someone had given her something she never thought possible. A real home. A safe place for her daughter. Lily ran through the front door excitedly. "Mom! Mom! You have to see my room." The room was painted in her favorite colors. There were bookshelves, toys, and a beautiful bed. It was everything a little girl could dream of. Sarah could barely speak. "Why would you do this for us?" Daniel looked directly into her eyes. "Because you deserve it." The following months were filled with happiness. Sarah and Lily moved into their new home. For the first time in years, they felt secure. No more leaks. No more broken windows. No more fear every time it rained. Daniel continued visiting regularly. Their bond grew stronger. They laughed together, shared meals together, supported each other through life's challenges. Eventually, it became impossible to ignore their feelings. One evening, Daniel invited Sarah to dinner. As the sun set, they sat in the garden Daniel had built. The atmosphere was peaceful. Birds chirped softly in the distance. Daniel took a deep breath. "Sarah, there's something I've wanted to tell you." Sarah's heart raced. Daniel smiled nervously. "Meeting you changed my life." Sarah listened quietly. "You showed me that true strength isn't found in money or success." He continued. "It's found in love, sacrifice, and courage." Tears formed in Sarah's eyes. Then Daniel said the words she never expected to hear. "I love you." For a moment, everything stood still. Sarah smiled through tears. "I love you too." A year later, friends and family gathered in the garden for a beautiful wedding ceremony. Lily proudly walked beside her mother. She couldn't stop smiling. As Sarah and Daniel exchanged vows, everyone could see the love between them. It wasn't built on wealth. It wasn't built on status. It was built on kindness, respect, and genuine care. The foundation of every lasting relationship. Years later, the family continued living happily in the home Daniel had built. Lily grew up surrounded by love. Sarah never forgot where she came from. And Daniel never forgot the lesson she taught him. Sometimes the richest people aren't the ones with the most money. They're the ones with the biggest hearts. And sometimes, a simple act of kindness can lead to a lifetime of happiness. Moral of the story: never judge someone by their circumstances. Kindness, compassion, and love have the power to transform lives. The greatest treasures in life are not houses, cars, or money, but the people who stand beside us when we need them most.